G'day everyone, how are we all? Sorry it's been a little while, I've been a bit tied up in other things, but I figured since I've bred a whole lot of Northern Blueys this year, should probably do a video about them and how to look after them and that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to get into today. Hopefully you enjoy. As you can see here, they've got a very inquisitive nature. They're usually pretty good to handle, although as babies they can be a little bit cantankerous and a little bit angry. But they do grow out of it with time. Now I just thought a bit of natural history on these guys. So their scientific name is Skinkoides intermedia. They are a subspecies of the common blue tongue skink and a close relative of the eastern blue tongue skink. These guys are found sort of around the Gulf of Carpentaria. There's a bit of a grey area there as to where the easterns finish and the northerns start. Then they go across to the Northern Territory, so into Darwin and sort of down towards Katherine, and then across Western Australia into Kununurra and across the Kimberley, and then down to Broome as well. They're quite a stunning animal, nice and bright, and quite a bit of variation across their range as well, colour and pattern wise. Alrighty, so we're just going to cut off my head a little bit for this next one because it's more about these guys than me. So here we have some Northern Blueys. In my hand here we have got a male, I suppose Darwin locality type animal. This guy is my double het T positive white northern bred by Joe Ball, and climbing up my shoulder here is a lovely Tunnel Creek locality animal, if it wants to focus, that was bred by Mike Mather. Now these guys did breed for me this year, and they did have, I believe it was 12 babies, and these are the ones that I have available at the moment. So I'm just going to go and pop these away and then we'll get into more of the video. Okay, so here is the, I suppose the basic setup for a Northern Blue Tongue. You've got the hide box. Now you can either go with something more natural, like say a rocky cave, or a plastic hide box. That's more up to you. I've got a mixture of both, although hopefully in the future I'll be moving more towards the more naturalistic look. Now I've got a little bit of a fake rock system going on here, and some other pits of rock under the heat lamp. That allows for better thermoregulation. It soaks up the heat. Animal can come and sit on that even when the lights are off to get nice and warm. Now of course you've got your food and water bowl down the bottom there, and a little bit of enrichment with the different sticks and bits and pieces. You can see the bluey in the back there who's having a look around at what's happening around her. So that's pretty much it as far as setup goes. I've got the animal shavings that you can get from Bunnings that I use for these guys. Again, in the future I'm hoping to go a bit more naturalistic, but for the time being this is what works for me. Now as far as your hotspots and UV lighting goes, I've got a 10.0 strength UVB light in there. They're T8 fittings. That's what I've got for now, although I do hope to upgrade to the Arcadia T5s into the future. And I've got a 75 watt Philips halogen globe from Bunnings that I'm running as a heat source. Now of course when using any heat with reptiles you have to have it synced up to a thermostat. I personally run the microclimate Evos, but that works for multiple setups. Even something as simple as a simple on-off thermostat that you can get from your local pet store will do the trick. With your UV I'd recommend adding on a timer of some description, whether that be something along the lines of like a Grid Connect system to hook up to your phone, or something more simple as an analog timer. That's up to you, but that just makes sure that you've got an appropriate light cycle. Ideally for your lights you want to be on for about 12 hours every day. I like to set my UV and my heating at different points so that one comes on and one goes off at different points to each other. So say if I've got lights, my heat lamps coming on at 8, I might have UV coming on at 6. And then vice versa at the other end of the day as well. So yeah, generally speaking, as far as your setup, your I suppose maintenance goes, you'd want to give them a nice big substrate clean out roughly every month or two, including, you know, you want to do as frequent spot cleaning as possible. Whenever you see something that needs a spot clean, give it a whirl. I highly recommend grabbing some F10 enclosure cleaning products that you can use to clean up the enclosure and the animals, different bits and pieces. That can also be used on hides, rocks, food and water bowls as well, just keeping in mind the concentrations. Now of course water bowls have to be provided at all times. I ideally like to have food in there at all times. I've just cleaned up all the bowls and that, so there is a few empty ones at the moment. but ideally you'd have water and food accessible as frequently as possible. Otherwise, you can feed them every 2 to 3 days at this sort of size. When they're a little bit younger, ideally you want to go every day or every second day, only small portions though, and then go from there as they get a little bit bigger. These guys can oftentimes go larger periods of time without food during, say, breeding season or something along those lines, but if you're just keeping it as a pet, naturally you just want to keep it as it is, I suppose. So hotspot, I don't know if I mentioned before, is about 35 to 40 degrees depending on the day. That's about as high as you want it, and you want to have a cool end where the animal can get away from the heat. That's probably closer into sort of the mid-20s or lower. I have everything switch off at about 8 or 9 o'clock and leave them all for the day, or for the night I should say, and then they come back on about 6 in the morning, give or take as well. So that's sort of how I run things. Again, that's just me. There's plenty of other resources out there that you can have a look at for that sort of thing, but that's just how I do things. So yeah, I suppose that'll just about do us for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed and learnt something about husbandry for the Northern Blue Tongues. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or send me a message, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, cheers, see you later. Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year as well. Thanks, bye.